Hey, what's up guys, this is Vimal here and welcome back to TRHD. Today I'm back with a brand new gaming PC build. Now this was highly requested by you guys. It's a 45,000 rupees budget PC build and the main highlight of today's build is AMD's Ryzen 5 2400G. This is AMD's new APU and comes with a powerful inbuilt Radeon Vega 11 graphics. We won't be using any discrete graphics card today because I want to see how powerful the 2400G is. So in today's video, I'll be showing you how to build this budget PC step by step, and we'll also be covering the gaming performance. So before we start with the build, I want to thank AMD, Asus and Cooler Master for sending me these products for review. So let's get started. To begin with, let's start with the processor. We'll be using AMD's new APU Ryzen 5 2400G. This processor comes with the built-in Radeon Vega 11 graphics. It's a 4-core 8-thread processor, has a base clock frequency of 3.6 GHz and the max boost clock frequency is 3.9 GHz. So let's get started with the unboxing. This APU comes with the Raid Stealth cooler. Let me take it out. So this is how the stock cooler looks like. The cooler's heatsink already has the thermal paste pre-applied on it, so you don't need to apply anything separately. And the 2400G comes in this sort of box packing. It's just like the other Ryzen processors. Let me take it out. So here is our 2400G. This processor costs about 13,500 rupees. The motherboard we'll be using is Asus ROG Strix X370F Gaming. It's an awesome motherboard, has an AM4 socket and has some great features. It's got Asus AuraSync RGB LEDs, Supreme FX audio and one-click system-wide overclocking abilities. This is how the Strix X370F Gaming mobile looks like. It's a beautiful motherboard, but let me tell you that you need to update the BIOS on it before installing the APU. The RAM that we'll be using today is G-Skill Flare X. They're amazing and are specially designed for Ryzen platforms. We've got two DDR4 RAM sticks in the box, each of 8 GB. They're clocked at 3200 MHz. They provide awesome performance and are perfect for the build. But since today we are going for a budget build, I'd recommend you guys to go only with one 8 GB RAM stick. That would be more than enough for the build. And this 8 GB RAM will cost you around 7,000 rupees. Coming to the storage, I'll be using a HyperX Fury 480 GB SSD, but you don't need to use this, you can simply go with a 1 TB hard disk. That will cost you somewhere around 3,000 rupees, or if you have a little more budget, get the Samsung 850 EVO 250 GB SSD, which will cost you around 6,500 rupees. Coming to the power supply, I'm using the Cooler Master's Masterwatt 750 semi-fanless modular power supply. It's an excellent power supply and I use it in most of my builds, but it's a little bit expensive and not necessary if you are on a budget. I'd suggest you to get the Cooler Master Masterwatt 500 Lite power supply, which will cost you around 3,500 rupees. That is more than enough for this build. Since I don't have that one, I'm going with my MW750. And finally, coming to the PC case, I'll be using the Cooler Master's Masterbox MB500. It's an amazing RGB PC case. Now I could have gone with a much cheaper cabinet, but the cheaper ones do not come with RGB fans or tempered glass panels, and without them, where's the fun? I really love RGB components guys, that's why I'm using this case. The MB500 has 3 pre-installed RGB fans, 2 on the front and 1 at the back, has a beautiful 4mm thick edge-to-edge tempered glass panel on the side that can be easily removed. The cabinet is quite spacious, supports all kinds of motherboards like ATX, Micro ATX and also Mini ITX motherboards, and also has a PSU cover. So these are all the components we'll be using today. Now let's get started with the assembling. First, let's install the processor on the MOBO. You've got the AM4 socket here. Gently lift the lever like this. You'll see that there are no pins on the board. That's because the pins are on the processor in the case of AMD chips. I know I've also said this in my previous build. I'm just giving a heads up to the beginners. Okay, so let me bring my processor. Here is the Ryzen 5 2400G. Before placing it on the socket, always make sure to align the gold triangle on the processor with the engraved triangle on the socket. And that's it. After placing the processor, pull down the lever to lock the CPU in its place. So we are done with the installation of the processor. Now it's time to fix the cooler on it. We are using AMD's stock cooler. It's called the Raid Stealth. Fixing the cooler is very easy guys. Align the cooler screw with the holes on the motherboard and place it gently on the CPU. After that, you need to tighten up the screws to fix the cooler in its place. Go in a crisscross manner and don't tighten the screws too much because you don't want to damage your board. Also, if you observe in the video, we didn't apply any thermal paste. That's because the stock cooler already comes with pre-applied paste on it. That's it guys, we are done with the installation of the cooler. Now it's time to place the motherboard in the cabinet. The MB500 is quite spacious, you can install all your components very comfortably. Just put the motherboard in place and align it with the holes in the cabinet. After that, take some screws and start fixing the MOBO to the case. So we are done with fixing the motherboard, let's install the Flare X RAM stick. We've got 4 RAM slots over here, but we'll be occupying only one of them because this is a budget build. Just open the lever, check the notch and push it hardly until the lever locks itself. So we are done with the installation of the RAM also. Now the final thing left to install is our power supply. So you need to fix this frame to the PSU that comes with the cabinet. After fixing the frame, take all the cables to the other side and push the power supply in the case, just like this. Now fix the PSU in place with these screws. So we are done with the installation of the cooler. In the last moment there was a slight modification in the build. I got a new motherboard from Asus. It's the TUF Series X470 Plus gaming motherboard. This MOBO is slightly better than the previous one as it has a newer X470 chipset, so I immediately replaced the motherboard. And this is how our final build looks like. It looks amazing for a budget build, right? The total cost of this build comes down to 45,000 rupees. I'll leave all the pricing details of the components at the end of this video. I really loved this build for the price because you've got beautiful RGB lighting that's completely controllable with Asus AuraSync software. It looks very clean and minimalistic. Just check out how awesome our build looks like. So this is the setup we'll be using today. The monitor I'm using is LG's 24-inch IPS Infinity display monitor. The model is 24MP88. Both the mouse and keyboard are from Cooler Master. I'll leave links to them in the description box, and the speakers are from F&D. Now let's check out the benchmarks. I've ran Geekbench 4 on it and got a single core score of 3849 and a multi-core score of 10592. In the OpenCL benchmarks, the iGPU scored about 31162. Now let's jump into the gaming section and see how it performs. Let's start off with Just Cause 3. It's a AAA titled graphic intensive game. I am playing it at 720p max graphics settings. So let's see how it performs.
Where are you? We're pinned down!
We're coming! Step on it, Rico!
You're a rebel now.
I was actually quite impressed by the performance. Now keep in mind that we are not using any discrete graphics card. We are running all these tests on the inbuilt Vega 11 graphics, and also I have not overclocked anything. All these games were playing on stock settings. While playing Just Cause 3, on an average I was getting around 35 to 40 frames per second. That is pretty impressive for inbuilt graphics. Not only Just Cause 3, I've also played Battlefield 1 and GTA 5 at 720p. In Battlefield 1 I was getting around 45 frames per second on an average, and GTA 5 was running at 35 FPS. The Ryzen 5 2400G is great for 720p gaming. I also tested these games at 1080p at low graphics settings. I was getting somewhere around 20 to 25 FPS. Now these were AAA title benchmarks. Coming to the basic games like CSGO, Rocket League or Fortnite, they were doing really well on this build. I played them at 1080p high graphics settings and was easily averaging around 40 frames per second. I have to tell you, AMD's new APU literally blows out the competition. Hands down, this is the most powerful inbuilt graphics I've seen till now. But while playing these games, at times there was a sudden drop in performance for a brief moment. You might have also observed that in the video. Now I'm not sure why it was happening. Maybe that was something related to the GPU drivers or a BIOS update. I haven't updated anything on my build. I'll just try that and let you guys know later if there's any improvement. Other than that, the 2400G is an excellent APU. Really value for money, guys. It costs about 13,500 rupees and offers performance very near to the GT 1030. So for people who can't afford a discrete graphics card, the 2400G is a great choice for them. So that was my video on the Ryzen 5 2400G budget PC build. This PC build costs about 45,000 rupees. You can play AAA title games at 720p and other basic games at 1080p without any sweat. Let me summarize all the component prices for you. The Ryzen 5 2400G costs 13,500 rupees. The Asus TUF X470 Plus is a new motherboard. I'm not sure about the price, but I think the price would be somewhere around 13,000 rupees. The 8GB RAM stick is priced for 7,000 rupees. The MB500 RGB PC case is available for 5,500 rupees. 1TB hard disk will cost you around 3,000 rupees, and the Masterwatt Lite 500 PSU is priced for 3,500 rupees. So that was my video on a budget gaming PC build. I'm also planning to make an even cheaper PC build for around 35,000 rupees. That video will also be coming soon on my channel, so stay tuned for that. That's it for today guys. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more new awesome videos. And I'll see you in the next one.